Mihawk and Perona, as well as V3 Rayleigh, debuted together on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global on the 26th of August 2020. Following the release of the French anniversary Sugo-Fest, this followed on with the One Piece history campaign to build hype for the eventual release of Super Types on Global. The characters in this batch include Bartholomew Kuma, protecting the ship on Sabaody Archipelago, Heracles, Glintstone Forest's hero, Emporio Ivankov, the cook's natural enemy, and this video will be covering the Sugo-Fest exclusive with a powerful special ability that would allow your characters to bypass enemy defensive effects with their normal attacks. Introducing Silver's Rayleigh, Guidance for a New Era. In this series, we'll be traveling back in time to experience some of the older Sugo-Fest exclusive characters in their prime, aiming to show just what it was like to use these characters on their debut. I hope you enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's enter the Legends of OPTC. So thank you very much for checking out yet another episode of the Legends of OPTC. Last week's video we had a look at Mihawk and Perona, so now let's have a look at the secondary half of this batch, where we're going to be covering V3 Rayleigh. Now this character brought along a very cool mechanic with their special, which of course we're going to talk about. We did talk about the batch in last week's video. We used a majority of them in last week's video as well, so if you guys want to see that, definitely go check out the previous episode utilizing Mihawk and Perona. But today we're here to talk about Rayleigh. Now Rayleigh had a positive and negative reception upon release. A lot of people liked his design but also kind of hated it for one major aspect, which they actually did kind of fix when he eventually super evolved. I think as it stands right now, he's probably one of my favorite super evolutions that's come out over the last couple of years. So let's actually talk about what his base form actually had. He is a Psi Cerebral Fighter. His captain ability would be a 4x boost to Fighter and Cerebral, and then 15% damage reduction. And then during the turn that you launch his special, he's a 4.75 times captain instead. So pretty good numbers across the board here. Nothing really too crazy, doesn't do a hell of a lot, but it's a decent captain ability for when it came out. In terms of using him as a crewmate ability, here having 5 turns of special bind and special reverse resistance, phenomenal. And then you look at his special ability, and this was where things got a little crazy, right? Because as you read it, it gets better and better and better. However, there is one big caveat to it all. So it does 250 times his attack in typeless damage to one target, boost the attack of Cerebral and Fighters by 2x for one turn, boost slot effects of Fighter and Cerebral by 2x for one turn, as well as making Fighter and Cerebral characters ignore damage reducing barriers and buffs, and that's also for one turn. Note, this special can only be activated if no other special has been activated this turn, and removes the ability to activate any other specials this turn. So again, as it means, when you launch Rayleigh's special, it is the only special you can launch during a turn. So that is kind of annoying, right? The fact that he doesn't have that ability to just, you know, use his special and then you get a bunch of benefits and then you can't use anything else. So if the enemy has some other type of gimmick that you have to deal with, a lot of the times you can't rely on Rayleigh. Another thing that with his special that is kind of a downside is that he doesn't guarantee you matching slots, right? They actually did kind of fix that with his Super Evolution, and of course the major downside of being able to only launch his special during the turn, they also fixed that with his 6+, allowing you to use at least one other special on top of buffing the numbers. So Rayleigh, upon release, he had some really cool things going for him. Even without the Super Evolution, people did still find some cool uses for him. The fact that we have a lot of captains that would release in the future that had utility inbuilt within the captain, you could just rely on Rayleigh being a crewmate, use other captains to deal with the gimmicks, and then when you reach a final stage or when you reach a really annoying stage, activate Rayleigh, attack boost, orb boost, and then bypass defensive effects, meaning your characters can ignore damage reduction, they can ignore damage threshold, damage immunity, barriers. So easy and super clean by utilizing Fighter and Cerebral characters with version 3 Rayleigh. So I guess without further ado, let's jump into the content utilizing V3 Rayleigh as a captain. So we are now in game with V3 Rayleigh. Now one of the really cool things about Rayleigh in ways people tried to circumvent the major issue with him only being able to use his special during the turn is utilize other abilities. So as we've kind of talked about in the breakdown of Rayleigh, the best way to deal with a bunch of gimmicks when Rayleigh can only use his special is like other captains that have phenomenal captain abilities, like Halloween Ace, who has the ability to remove a bunch of different debuffs, specifically like Special Bind and Special Reverse. Really cool effect. And then obviously there was like dual units, right? You could activate switch effects of characters to trigger other additional buffs, and then when you activate your Rayleigh special, you can still do that. It just means you can't launch actual specials. And eventually, with the release of super types and super classes, you could use those abilities in tandem with Rayleigh's effect as well. So just lots of other abilities you could use alongside them. So we're going to go ahead and run this team here against Colosseum Magellan. Colosseum Magellan was pretty annoying. The best team to use back in the day against this one was Legend Carrot, because you could just bypass the defensive effects, and that's exactly what Rayleigh does. So we're going to try and showcase that here today. We don't actually really need to stall, considering the only special we need for this whole content is actually going to be Rayleigh. We won't actually have to use any other type of special, so we're actually going to be in a pretty nice scenario here without having to stall at all. Rayleigh does have the potential ability of giving himself cooldown at the start of the quest, which really helped him being used in like treasure maps and stuff, because you just didn't have to worry about, you know, his cooldown being ready or not, because he will just guaranteed be good to go, which is super good. So move on to the next stage. So here we go, moving on to stage 3, which is going to be Blackbeard. One of the things about this content that's really annoying is you are inflicted with a bunch of special reverse. You're inflicted with special reverse whenever you kill Blackbeard, special reverse when you kill the next stage, which is Shiryu. But of course, having a friend captain in a Halloween Ace actually just deals with that, and you can see, you know, you can deal with the special reverse. And it's just annoying because we want to make sure Rayleigh is good to go when we reach the final stage. This is also why I brought Shanks' crew, even though he isn't really boosted by both captains. He's just really good to generate that attack boost, just to give us a bit of additional damage to ensure that we get this knockout here. So without further ado, let's try and kill Blackbeard. This should be enough damage to get through, so let's do it. Yeah, absolutely no issues whatsoever. This is going to be an absolute speed run. We're just going to fly through this one. And here we have Shiryu. So Shiryu, I do have his info up on the side. So he's got about 3 million HP. He will go ahead and do a 50% health cut. If we don't kill, every 2 turns, he's going to blow away a random unit for 6 turns. And when we kill him, 4 turns of special reverse. So obviously pretty annoying stuff. Just going to go ahead and switch to Shanks' crew and give us an attack boost and some matching slots guaranteed. And that should be all we need in order to get through it. Easy. It's just so easy. It's free. It's actually free. And then, of course, they dealt with the special reverse. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's only for the crewmate, so that actually realistically doesn't matter at all. And then we reach the boss stage. So as we talked about with Rayleigh, you can only use his special the turn you activate his special. So very important that we get through the rest of the gimmicks here. So you can see with these really annoying shields, he's got damage reduction, and he has the ability of damage immunity. So he only will take damage from characters that are not quick type. If you deal quick damage to him, it is going to negate that damage, right? So because we just resist it, it's not really a big problem. So we're going to just go ahead and generate that matching slot via that VV support, and with the Ace support we can get a 1.3 times color affinity boost, which obviously is fine because it's not a special, so we can use that with our Rayleigh special. So Rayleigh, of course, is going to give us the 2 times attack, the 2 times orb boost, and allow our normal attacks to bypass enemy defensive effects for this turn. And then, of course, when he did get access to his super evolution, he would get the ability to generate a full board of matching slots and removes paralysis and has a lot of other good stuff. And then we'll go ahead and use the switch ability of Shanks to generate some matching slots on Luffy, because as long as Luffy and Marco, we want to make sure that those guys have matching slots, because that's going to be the best way to do damage against Magellan here. How much HP does Magellan have? He has 10.5 million, so I don't really think this is going to be a major issue for us. Let's go ahead and hit our perfects and get that dub. It's so free, dude. Dude, Rayleigh, man, he is the GOAT. If you can build the team to work around him, he makes things so free, which is why I talked about a little bit earlier with the fact that Rayleigh would actually be used quite a lot in other TM bosses, because if you can just deal with the gimmicks, if there's any defensive effect related gimmicks, like Rayleigh can just deal with that on top of giving you attack, orb boost, all the good stuff. Like, Rayleigh is such a good Sugo-Fest exclusive character. I do feel like they kind of ruined his release with only being able to launch his special during the turn. That does really drag the character down. But with the most recent 6+ of him, definitely helped him out. So yeah, that was a pretty easy one for sure. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Just showing the power, the sheer power of this character. Let me pull up real quick the actual history breakdown, because I want to see who's the next Sugo-Fest exclusive that we're going to be covering. So after Rayleigh, oh, surprise, surprise, it's actually going to be the release of V3 Sakazuki. This was actually a global first character, and I actually made a video for Bandai Namco during his release, actually, as like a promotional thing to showcase that character. So that's going to be fun to go back and have a look at Sakazuki. And then after that is when we get into the super types. We have 4 batch release. That's going to be a lot of fun to break down that one. So that's pretty much it, guys. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.